Hey, welcome into the Stinkin Truth Podcast, the leftovers edition between my game that I call between the Tennessee Titans and the Carolina Panthers. I am Mark Schlereth. That's Mike Evans. Mike, how are you, buddy?
I'm good. I'm good. Boy, it turned out that your broadcast was kind of historic. Huh?
We cursed the head coach of the Carolina Panthers.
Mark Schlereth, Coach Killer.
Coach Killer. That's exactly right. I take full responsibility for ending the tenure of one Frank Reich.
Which, let's give you a little bit of historical backdrop. Fired 11 games into the season. Mm-hmm. You got to go back to 1978 to find the last time a coach was fired this quickly in his first season.
78?
1978. It happened, I guess, with the San Francisco 49ers. I don't know exactly the name. It was some forgettable name. But, yeah, that was the last time. And that now makes back-to-back seasons in which the Panthers and owner Dave Tepper has fired a coach midway through the season. Matt Rule last year, Frank Reich this year.
Yeah. Boy, I tell you what, unbelievable, what's going on there. And I think there are so many questions about Bryce Young. Is Bryce Young the guy? Can he be the guy? And I talked to multiple coaches on that staff, and I don't know that anybody truly knows, but everybody to a man said, I think we have the right guy. Like, he's made of the right stuff. Now, there are physical limitations. He's 5'9" and change or whatever he is, and about 195 pounds. I mean, he's not a big dude. But, he doesn't shy away. The one thing about Bryce Young, he doesn't shy away from that. I talked to him about just his height and being able to see things. He goes, yeah, there's things I don't see. I go, but there's things that 6'5" quarterbacks lose vision on. And I talked to Josh McCown about that. Like, man, I'm 6'4", 6'5", and there were times I couldn't see things. Like, it's just the nature of the business. And the thing that Bryce Young told me is, listen, man, I haven't been able to see over the line of scrimmage since I was in 8th grade. Like, that, it's just the way it is. And I'm used to that. And it's understanding drops, understanding where defenses drop, like what coverage you're in, how guys drop, what leverage they're playing, and all those things, and where windows are going to open. And then finding those windows between the offensive lines so you can throw those things. Like, I don't know that it's really that much different for anybody else. Now, there's some things instantly that are going to take, your vision gets kind of taken away a little bit, but that didn't seem to be an issue. The issue I had, and probably the reason that Frank got fired, is like that offense was putrid. They're awful. But I would tell you, is that coaching or is that personnel? And one of the issues is, and again, you and I have talked about this, the college quarterbacks that you are getting right now, for the most part, grew up throwing 7-on-7, grew up playing shotgun in high school, grew up playing shotgun in college. The Indianapolis Colts are about, not the Indianapolis Colts, Frank Reich's last team. The Carolina Panthers, are in gun about 90 to 92% of the time. Some of it pistol, some of it shotgun. And I'm just going to tell you that it eliminates, from a mesh point standpoint, especially when you're in near or far gun, meaning near gun would be tight end, strong, like let's call it tight end, strong right, near the running back on your right side, far the running back on your left side. Well, what can you run? Like, if you're in near gun, you're running belly weak. It's the way it goes. If you're in far, you're running handoff strong. Those are the two plays you're really running. You can have some adjunct plays in there, but that's what you're running. The other thing is there's no, on play action out of gun, there's no suck-up factor. So when you flag that ball, linebackers and safeties can see it. They see the shotgun snap. They don't automatically get drawn up. So therefore, the intermediate passing game that you're trying to open up, the game between the safeties and the corners and the linebackers does not open. So and then ultimately, you got a bunch of receivers that aren't beating man-to-man coverage. Like, so how do you evaluate? And lastly, you got an offensive line that can't block anybody. So how do you evaluate a quarterback when those are the situations? And if you're the owner, is that the coach's fault, or is that your fault, or is that the GM's fault for not producing or not giving you good enough player? Like, there's more than just a coaching issue or a play calling issue.
Right, but you always like to say you're either coaching it or you're allowing it to happen.
Right.
And I get what you're saying. Frank Reich needs to coach, though, to what he's got. And if you see it's obvious that this is not helping Bryce Young transition to the NFL, this kind of offense, then isn't that up ultimately on Frank Reich to say, hey, listen, this is what you have to learn.
Yeah, Frank,
you have to do.
Yeah, Frank told me, hey, listen, Bryce Young played probably almost 100% of his snaps in gun at Alabama.
Right.
Probably the only time that he is not in gun is when they're kneeling down in victory formation. Right. Those are probably the only snaps he took in college where he wasn't in gun. And I know that's where you're most comfortable, and I get that. Guess what? We're going to have to make you uncomfortable. Because at this particular point in time, what you're doing may be more comfortable for him, but you know what it's not more comfortable for? 5 guys up front. The receiving core you have. It doesn't help them. So would you rather help the one guy that plays quarterback or the other 10 guys that play other positions? And I think there comes a time, I understand that the best coaches develop a system, right, that benefits their players. But there has to be a give and take in that. Mm-hmm. And I think from a coaching standpoint, I think one thing that I've always believed in, and I think is very important, just this concept of empathy. You have to be empathetic to everybody's problems. Mm-hmm. And by playing the game that you're playing, you're creating problems for other guys on your roster. And, hey, let's face it, you can say whatever you want about Steve Wilkes, who was the interim coach last year, but they created this hammerhead offense where they're running Dante Foreman downhill and just absolutely thunder punching people in the teeth and winning games. And they won a bunch of games doing it that way. And it wasn't pretty, but it was effective. And like I think you have to err on the side of what's best offensively for the largest number of people we have, and helping to solve other people's issues. And I think they did there's almost, hey, our quarterback has never been under center, so we're going to play entirely out of shotgun. I think there's probably a give and take that needed to happen there that didn't happen.
In your conversation with Frank Reich leading up to the game,
yeah,
did you get any sense? Did you get any sense that he had a sense that this could happen?
Listen, man, I have a lot of respect, and I think anybody who's been involved in this game has a lot of respect for Frank Reich. And I have a lot of respect for him, and I think he's a good coach. I really do. Again, I think you got saddled with trying to take quarterback and fit him into a system that's not necessarily, based on the personnel you have, not necessarily the best thing for your personnel. I did get a sense that he thought he was getting fired. I do get a sense that they understood kind of we're 1-9 right now, and it's not, there's another rookie quarterback just down the street who's having a lot of success in Houston, and I think there's definitely that comparison aspect to it, but it is one of those situations, man, where I don't think he thought that was going to happen.
So, if I'm a Panther fan right now watching this,
Yeah.
two questions I have. One, can Bryce Young, I guess he can be. Do you think Bryce Young will end up being a franchise quarterback?
If I was like a gambler on it right now,
Sure.
no, I don't.
Okay.
Now I've been wrong plenty, and I certainly don't think the style with which they play right now is conducive to any quarterback having long-term success. I just don't, especially when you're as small as he is. So I think you have to be able to control the middle of the football field. You have to do things from that standpoint, and I don't think they have a team that can do that right now. So I think there are going to have to be concessions, and he's going to have to play in a more NFL friendly. Now everybody has moved to 3 wide stuff. Everybody has moved to 11 personnel and more shotgun stuff. And I get that. I get that aspect of it. But there has to be, like, the best teams. You talk San Francisco, you talk you talk Detroit, I guarantee you they're probably under center about 40 some odd percent of the time, maybe 45% of the time. So there's got to be a little bit more balance in what you're doing to keep a defense guessing, so to speak.
Okay, then my second question, speaking for Panther fans, would be this. I mentioned Matt Rule being fired last year, midseason. Now Frank Reich being fired midseason. Dave Tepper firing these coaches. How attractive is this job going to be for coaching candidates?
It's one of 32, so that part is attractive.
That helps.
If it comes down between you and somebody else, you'll take somebody else. If it comes down to, like, meaning you and another team, you'll take the other team. If it comes down to this is the only option you have, you're taking it, and you're going to find a way to, quote-unquote, fix it.
Yep. Because it's one of only 32 jobs like this on the planet.
Yeah, right. One of only 32 jobs on the planet.
Yep.
And, and that's just kind of the reality of where we sit right now.
Let's move on over to the Titans.
Yeah.
And this is, I think, the second time you've done one of their games this year.
Yeah.
How would you compare what you saw yesterday versus what you saw the first time, maybe in terms of improvement?
Well, I definitely think there's a formula. Like, this is a team that has always been able to control line of scrimmage, run the ball, do all those things. They can do that on defense. They've got some defense. T.R. Tart's an unbelievable. Jeffrey Simmons is a freak show. He is such a good player. You got Danico Autry, who's awesome, just an awesome player. So there's a lot of really, really good players. Harold Landry is a really good player. So they have got a lot of really good players. And so, that they've always been able to control that front seven. Their offensive line has been an absolute, like, revolving department store door, and some of the guys that they have gotten just haven't panned out at the tackle position. They went out and got Andre Dillard in free agency, and he just has not. He's been a disappointment. That's where it's been right now. And so they've got some young guys that are shifting around, and and they have not been a dominant group up front. But I will say this, man, they really leaned into Derrick Henry, which they have to do. I believe that's got to be part of who they are. And I am really growing to be a fan of Will Levis, the guy who sat around and basically got passed over for whatever reason. I'm not 100% sure why. Maybe it's because he puts mayonnaise in his coffee or eats bananas with the peel on. Maybe teams just looked at that and said, "Dude, we don't need that."
So you sat down with him. What's he like?
He was very direct and matter of fact, and like he was great. He was great. But what I'm impressed with was watching him on tape, foot energy. Like his feet are really always underneath him. He's always balanced up. And when he throws from a platform of balance. And I think that's always like you and I we talk to Joel Klatt every week, and we talk about quarterbacking, and something that always resonates with me is the timing of the offense is kept in the quarterback's feet. Joel always says that, and I've adopted that philosophy. When your feet are good, you're on time. When you're on time, you're accurate, and he's exceptionally accurate, and he's got big time arm talent. I can throw it like we think of big time arm talent is, oh my gosh, he just like can let it eat. He can. But man, just so quick and so many different arm angles. He reminded me of a shortstop. Like all the different arm angles that he throws with. And the ball is out, it's quick, and it's on people right now. And it's on people accurately. And I thought for the most part, he played really well. And so I look at him and say, man, that's a kid that you look at and you go, wow, we've got an opportunity for this kid to continue to work and develop and really lead our franchise. So, I know it was a hard conversation. Talked to Vrabel about it, like the conversation between him and Tannehill. And he goes, hey, man, hard conversation. And I know Tannehill was banged up and everything else, but because won a lot of games together and went to an AFC championship together and all those things and became our guy. And but ultimately, as a coach, you got to do what you think is best at the time for the football team. And I think those are hard conversations to have, but they're honest conversations. And Tannehill's been great, really helping mentor. And for them, it's a big win. But let's face it, the bulk of this team will probably not be fixed until they solidify their offensive line and can count on their offensive line to do the things they need to do, because defensively their front seven, Mike, is Jeffrey Simmons is a full-grown ass man who dominates the line of scrimmage, and all their guys are really good up front.
So this being the leftovers, anything that you found interesting, compelling in your preparation for the game that you just didn't get a chance to get to as much as you would have liked that you want to share right here?
One of the things, and I talked about a little bit, but you think about guys that have the potential to move on and be like free agents or things. Azeez Al-Shire plays middle linebacker for the Tennessee Titans. I talked about this a little bit. This guy is, growing up, he's been homeless. He's gone, commuted 2 hours to get to school. When he was at school, he brought his younger brothers in to live with him so he could watch over them or kind of raise them, make sure they got to school, make sure they got their work done, kept them out of trouble. He, tears up his knee, so he's a college free agent to San Francisco, plays there, signs a 1-year deal with Tennessee, flying around the football field, making every play. I think he's a great player. But I always said this, there's a lot of talented guys in the league, a lot of talented guys that, you just look at it, it's kind of, super talented, but kind of a knucklehead.
Right.
Talent does not drive your character.
Right.
Just because you're talented doesn't mean you have great character. But great character drives talent to do things that are just remarkable. And here's a guy that's got unbelievable character. And, man, he is a good player. And I just was watching his film, like knowing about his story a little bit, just going, man, if I was a GM, he'd be on the top of my free agent list.
Yeah, really.
Flies around, makes plays, is a great player, and is got that kind as a young adult, as a college kid, has enough about him to say, man, I'm going to take care of my brothers. Like that to me is, man, that's big time. Like that's the kind of guy I want to lead my football team.
Yeah.
And signs a 1-year deal with Tennessee, man. Good for them. I hope they lock him up long term. I hope he plays there for a long time. So, anyhow, with
Good
that
story.
said,
Good story.
Yeah, it's a good story. I tell you what, Frank Reich again. I'm a fan. He's a good man, and I think he's a damn good football coach. And I just think Carolina's an unfortunate situation that he's found himself in. And we'll see if the next guy can fix what's going on there.
And we'll see if Frank gets a third opportunity.
Yeah,
at this probably be tough. He's had 2 strikes, so might be tough to get that third crack at it.
Yeah. You never know. I mean, you go back to being an offensive coordinator, and he's always been good at that.
Yep.
So
little football rehab.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, that's it for the leftovers between Carolina and the Tennessee Titans. We thank you so much for being a part of the Stinkin Truth podcast. Thank you guys so much. Make sure you subscribe, like it, do all the things that you do. You guys are more internet savvy than me. For Mike, I'm Mark. We'll talk to you guys later on in the week. Hey, for everybody involved in the Stinkin Truth, we thank you so much. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure you don't forget to give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel for more content just like this. If you want to see more of our videos, you can also be sure to check out our playlist. Let us know exactly what you think in the comments below. We appreciate you guys so much for being a part of that.
Don't forget to follow us on social media to stay up to date on our latest updates. Links are in the description. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.